theory.
No. Now, when you see the enlightened, I mean that has something to do, but not the Reyes is really the cobra, is what you see coming off. The cobra and the vulture, and that really that's just talking about lower and upper Egypt, the uniting of the two. Okay, on 2, I jumped over a page or so. On 220, 221, you're now seeing how they work out the zodiac. Now, okay, so let me ask you a question. How did we get from 4 to 7 to, tell me this. If I say number 4, what period am I talking about? If I show you a symbol, which will help you.
You know what?
A piece of paper though. But I'll do it here.
Here.
That's the number 4. What is that? What does that represent?
Swastika.
But what does the swastika really represent?
Creation or destruction. 4 corners, like 4 corners of the universe or something to that degree.
Okay, but go back. That's true. But before we get that far, what's the first things in the evolution of these people?
The
Fixed pole stars.
Now, what comes before pole stars? Before you get to stellar, you had hero, and before you had hero, you had what? Elemental.
Yeah.
4 is elemental. Earth, air, fire, water.
So 4 is elemental.
That's 4. Okay? And also, it's the law of opposites. So if you see anyone in church today telling you that homosexuality is acceptable and blah, 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 you can either refer them back to the law of opposites, which looks like this, or you can give them this one. It's called the yin and the yang. Because these laws are still applicable today. So how are you going to discount, okay? The reason you have the need to have any of these is for what reason? Earth versus air is what?
Earth versus air.
Earth is what?
Earth is solid.
Thank you.
Air
It's a
is-
solid. There. Hello. Fire and water. Hot and cold. And balance. Okay? This is all keeping balance. What puts out fire? Water. Okay? Now, the next thing we have is the number 7. And really, the 7 evolved from, here's the 4. The square. Okay? And what's the triangle?
Would that be Horus, Set, and Shu? Would that be those 3?
Very good. So Horus, Set, and Shu are 3 and 4. What's the number for the Godhead today?
So 7.
There it is. what do these two things make?
How?
Universe.
Well, those
Everything.
two things there, yeah.
Huh?
Just got in and everything.
Everything.
Where do you see these? Your
Period.
nation's capital, and the Washington Monument is this thing and this thing put together. It's an obelisk. An obelisk is actually a triangle and sitting on top of a square. Now, what makes 8? What do I add to this to get 8?
The sun?
And
I thought that the 8th one, I thought it was kind of, I remember coming across that. It was somewhat.
were y'all here last week?
Yeah, I remember.
Really?
I have such a short
Huh?
memory.
But it was
I don't
almost
remember.
like.
What did we do last week?
Yeah, I wasn't here. Yeah.
What chapter is before this one?
11?
Starts with the L.
I guess, yes.
Are you serious? It's called lunar, the moon.
Lunar, that's right.
That's right.
The moon.
I knew it was one of them.
Okay,
I got it wrong.
the moon
That's the same.
gives you the 8th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, now when you add the sun to this equation,
And the rest of the post.
and what you just said, what numbering system are you on now? Where are we now?
So,
So what's the number for solar?
9?
Uh,
8? What is it?
dang, you got it in your hand. How many things are on this paper?
12.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's everything.
The zodiac is solar.
Is that in this book?
I hope so. That's
Have
the
we got
pages
there
we're
yet?
on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right there. Okay, got it.
Right here, this is them.
That's it.
I had looked down.
what about this 13th zodiac sign? It's relatively young.
Don't believe the hype. Okay. See, if nothing else, I want you to just think kind of big picture what this stuff means. Because these other things is not that important. But if you know solar is associated with my zodiac, which is 12, okay? It's all of these things operating around my sun, who's God's son, who gives this light so ye may live. It is born every morning and it dies every evening. In the Bible says it'll walk on water when it dies. The sun, if you ever see the sun rays on the ocean, you see it walking on water. It says it'll come on a cloud. It does that every morning, does it not?
Coming in this
So you kind of see, we're talking about something in the heavens, but they're making it human, but understand what this really is. Okay? Because what's the part of your body that equates to the sun? Thank you. Your blood pump. Okay? Because so it is above, it is below. Everything we're talking about out there is also right here. That's what we really need to understand at the end of this journey. This is where God resides. It's not off somewhere in space. It's right here. And you can manifest it and make it come to life if you know the rules, which is what they said. We wrote them all down so everybody would know. The problem is we had some vandals and some barbarians up in our stuff, and they took away the rule book, and now we're lost in space.
NMPs. quote,
Okay, on 222. The chapter in the stellar cult, she had presided over the birth of Horus and the inundation. In the lunar, she presides over moon. But when the solar time was established, the child becomes solar as well as the sun god.